Hi, hello, welcome in. Happy day. I'm Mud from Mud's Yarn, and today we are going to be making this lovely little sheep. He's so fluffy. He's so cute. I hope you enjoy him. He is an intermediate scale pattern, so I won't be going over any direct stitch instructions. So please be familiar with crochet, especially single crochet, increase, decrease. This loop I will tell you how we do, but if you have a basic understanding, it'll be easier to progress. Otherwise, he's pretty simple. So let's get started. Little sheepy guy. Bye. So these are going to be your materials for your sheep: a fluff color, a body color, scissors. I'm using a 3.5mm hook, stitch marker, and some safety eyes. Oh, jeez. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is start with the body. And first step is the head. It's round 1. We're going to chain 6, 4, 6, and then we are going to single crochet 4, skipping that first chain. Two, and 4, and then in that last stitch we are going to increase by doing 3 single crochets in that last spot. 1, 2, and then the third one's basically going to be on that back side. And then continuing on the back of the chain, you're going to single crochet 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then in that very last one we're going to increase, doing 2 stitches for end row count of 12. And this is going to give us that oval shape that will start his head. And then for round 2, we're going to increase in that first stitch, single crochet 3, and then we're going to increase 3 times. 1, 2, and 3, and then single crochet 3, and then increase twice. For round 3, we're going to increase, single crochet 8, and we're going to do that twice. 2, 3, 7, 8, and then again increase and single crochet 8. And for round 4, we're going to increase and single crochet 9 and do that twice. And 9. Okay, and then for round 5, we're going to single crochet 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to increase, single crochet 10, increase, and then single crochet 5. And then for rounds 6, 7, and 8, we are going to single crochet around. 8. And for round 9, we're going to decrease and then single crochet 4 and repeat that around. Now we are going to pause and add the eyes. They are going to go between rounds 6 and 7, about 5 stitches apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have all kinds of fancy tools you can use to pop in eyeballs. But I highly recommend an empty pen tube. Once you use a pen, just keep the tube. And as long as the stem of the eyeball fits on one end of the pen, it works pretty dang nice. Alright, and then for round 10, we're going to decrease and single crochet 3. Three. And for round 11, we're going to single crochet around, which is 16 stitches. Alright, and then we are going to take a pause to stuff the head. Now, I like stuffing my plushies pretty firm, but I don't recommend overstuffing the head and being very careful of it. Otherwise, you end up with a round head, where for this sheep we kind of want them a little bit more flat. So just make sure stuffing is dispersed appropriately. And then for round 12, in the final round, we're going to decrease in every stitch, and then we'll sew him up. Six, 7, and 8. Chain 2 to finish off. Grab my and then next we will be working on the ears. There's a little hit. Gosh, those white colored eyeballs were a choice. All right, and then for the ears, we're gonna make 2. First, we're gonna start with a magic circle and single crochet 6. 1, 2, and 6. In round 2, we are gonna single crochet. Blah blah. For round 2, we are gonna single crochet and then increase around. Total count will be 9. Increase, and then rounds 3 through 6, we are just going to single crochet around. And that's round 6. And for round 7, in the final round, we are going to decrease 4 times and then just single crochet in the last remaining stitch. And 5. And then we're going to finish it off with a little bit of string for sewing. And we'll make the other ear and we'll sew those on. Okay, so now that we've got both of our ears, they will have, or hopefully will have, a very slight kind of bean shape or curve to them, and you can definitely shape it a little bit to make it more distinct. But either way, we'll want to sew it so that curve is on the inside of the head, roughly two rows down from the top. Very Shaun the Sheep. And then same deal with the other one, just match it up on the other side of the head. Whoops. About 2 rows down. Hide the ends by just pushing them back through. There you have one very surprised. There you go, one little sheep head. So now we are going to make his legs. So you make 4 legs. We're going to start off with a magic circle and single crochet 6. And then we're going to increase in every stitch around for 12. And 12, and then we're going to single crochet all the way around once. Well, make sure the right side is out here. Put this little tail end of the yarn in the center. And then we are going to decrease every stitch around. And 6. And then finally we are going to single crochet across the top. So you're going to smoosh it together, and all 6 of the stitches should kind of line up. And we are going to single crochet through both sides 3 times. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, finish off. And we don't need a big string to sew it because we are going to do a no sew and sew these little, whoops, sew these little feet into the body. And here's the other ones I made earlier. Okay, and then for that body, we are going to start at the back and work forward. So you're going to start with a magic ring and single crochet 6. And then we are going to increase in every stitch around. 12, and then for round 3 we are going to single crochet and increase and repeat that around. And then for round 4 we're going to single crochet 2 and increase. And repeat that around. Increase, and then for round 5 we're going to single crochet 3 and increase and repeat that around. And your end row count should be 30. Increase. And for round 6 is where we're going to start adding the back legs. So we are going to single crochet 1 and add the leg. And the way we are going to do that is we're going to take our leg, stick our hook through one of the top single crochets on the leg, and then through the next stitch in the body. So then on your hook you should have your working loop, leg, body, and then you'll finish that single crochet like normal though. So yarn over, pull through all of it, all the the leg and the body. So you have 2 loops on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And you'll do that for the 3 stitches on the top of the leg. 1, 2, and 3. And then you are going to single crochet 4 just in the main body part. And I tend to hold the cut yarn from the leg in these stitches to help prevent any holes or keep it out of the way. 4, and then we're going to add the second back leg. So same kind of way, through the loops on the leg, through the next stitch in the body, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and 2 more times, 1 and 2, and then we're going to single crochet the rest of the body like normal. But then you can see we've got 2 little nubby legs attached, no sewing, nice and secure, good stuff. And if they lean back really hard, don't worry, that'll even out when we put the fluff on. And then after this, around 7 through 10, we are just going to single crochet around the whole thing. Whoops. And where we put our legs, there should just be that one active row. So again, 7 through 10, we're just going to single crochet around. And finishing round 10. So for 11, we're going to add the front legs. We are going to single crochet 2. And then similar to the back legs, we're just going to add the front ones in the same way. And take your leg, through the leg, through the body, and single. Now, if your stitches shift more than mine, you might need to only single crochet one or single more before you add the legs on, but we're trying to get them pretty even. And then single crochet 4, and add the last leg. Two and 3. Now, if you're thinking, Mud, that is a really tiny body for a sheep. It's going to look like a little sheepy bowling ball. There's not much space between those legs. Chill. Yes, he is going to be a little bit more of a short, round, cutesy sheep. But when we add the wool, his fluff, it's going to put some distance in between each of these rows. So it's going to stretch out a little bit. If you just really want a long sheep, feel free to add more single crochet rounds between the legs. But trust me, if you add fluff the way we're going to for this, it'll stretch him out a little bit and he'll look perfectly adorable. As hopefully seen in the intro that I will record after this when I have a sheep to show you. And for round 12, we are going to single crochet 3 and decrease. It's decrease. And for round 13, we are going to single crochet 2 and decrease. And for round 14, we are going to decrease 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 5 and 6. And then we are going to leave the rest of them unworked and just finish off. And this time we will leave a tail to sew on to the body. You know, and stuff him, I suppose. Cute round little sheep guy. Similar to the head, I wouldn't overstuff him just because it's going to be easier to work with. And then we are going to sew his head on. I like to sew it just kind of straight on the body. Of course, you could move the head, you know, down or up a little bit, depending on where on the neck you would like his head to sit. I know some people use pins to pin limbs in place before they sew them together. If that works, awesome trick. But for some reason, every time I do that, it shifts. So I have just accepted the guesswork. I suppose you could leave him like this and you just have a fresh sheared sheep. Cute little ball guy. Okay, now for the tough part. His fluff. So you are going to slip knot on your hook. Hopefully my camera decides to show detail. You can see how by working in the round there's a little bit of a spiral. What we are going to do is in the posts in between each round we are going to add a loop stitch. So you can take your hook and right where your magic circle starts round 1. Let me see if I can kind of show this. So here's my magic circle and here's the little bump where you can kind of start seeing it becomes round 2 or that first individual round. So right next to that, you're gonna see if I can do that again. Okay, so right next to that, where that bump kind of comes out, you're gonna put your hook in and then out at the next stitch. And then this is the goofy hard part. You are going to, this is the easiest way I've found. I know there's other ways as well. But you are gonna put your thumb under the yarn, pull it down. So you have a little bit of a loop here on your thumb, as well as there's one on the hook and the one there. And you are going to pull that yarn through. So now you have two white loops on your hook, the one on your thumb, and then your working yarn. And you're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And that is your first loop stitch. It looks a little silly now, but you can get a bit of a rhythm going. So we're going to do it again. We're in the next spot. So right next to the one you just made and out the next side. And pull your loop down. And by using your thumb, you can kind of keep them all the same size a little bit easier. Then we're just going to use our hook to pull it through and then under that loop from our thumb. So you just have the 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through. So into our guy, loop on our thumb. Whoops, my yarn split. 2 loops unhook, yarn over, pull through. And as you go around, when you get back to kind of where you started, and take your time with this. This is a little bit of a weird thing, that's for sure. When you get back to where you started, you'll see that as you continue, it just jumps up to the next round because, again, it's worked in those spirals. So we'll do the next one. And then the next one, and you can see how it's kind of already going up diagonal from that very first stitch we made. And then we continue around. And then we're starting on our second round of loops. And we are just going to keep going with it. This is also why I was saying that it'll stretch out the body a little bit, because you're putting so much yarn in between each of those rows. And because we're doing it this way, as long as you don't cut these loops, it won't come undone. Or it shouldn't come undone. So I am just before the round where his foot, whoa. Okay, so I'm just before the round where his foot kind of starts. On the top, you can see that it goes around fairly easily, same as any of the other rounds, same as we've been doing. On the back, kind of the same. It's a little bit harder to see, but the same thing happens. There's just a round and then the top of the round. Because we treated his foot like part of the body we were working on, your rounds shouldn't be interrupted by his foot. So let's go around. I'll show you what I mean. But you can see as I'm getting to his foot, I'm still under it in that same row. Just following the holes along. And it goes right up underneath his foot. Boop. Yeah, try not to pick up any of the wayward fluff circles while going around. They should hopefully all be pointed directionally toward the back so they stay out of your way, but sometimes they like to get involved. So again, still just following it around, and it's going right up underneath his foot. His foot that is trying to cause catching problems. There you go. This is why I say don't stress yourself and just go slow, nice and easy. So this will take quite a while. And definitely some rounds to get in some sort of flow motion, that's for sure. And then we're starting to come back around to his feet again. And so, oops. We'll just keep going right along up to the side of his foot here. And then if you are even continuing in that round, you'll just put his foot down and you can see it keeps going right through. Just on top of his foot instead of behind it. And then he's got his little foot right up hidden in all of his fluff. And just push his foot out of the way and kind of keep going. Going around his feet is probably the most annoying part, but just because they like to get all floppy and try to be in the way. I want to catch all the loops too. But you'll just keep going. So I'm going to do the rest of his belly. And I'll catch up when I am closer up toward his neck, and we'll talk about doing that. Looks like he's wearing a little hula skirt. Amazing. Alright, see you in a second. Alright, so as I'm getting to the last little bit around his neck here, I wanted to talk about finishing this off. I tend to go to not the very last round of the body, just because it's difficult. But I do try to get pretty close, and then what happens is, because we are doing the loop stitch as a single crochet, it has a little bit of that top to it. So when you get fairly close to your sheep's head, that bunch of single crochets, or that top half of single crochets, just kind of meets where his neck is and gives you just a easy fluff line, so it doesn't stick out super weird or make it look like a hula skirt like it did when we were halfway through. But then, yeah, somewhere under here it gets to those six decreases, excuse me. And I just go about under his chin. And eventually you do kind of have to make up where the stitch holes are, just because the decreases make them so hard to find. Unless you've got super clean stitches, in which case, mad props. I'm sorry, I keep taking them off screen. But then on the last stitch, when you're like, that's enough, I'm done, you're just going to go under wherever, pick up another little brown post, and slip stitch. And chain 2, and cut it off. Now you can either thread the starting string back through. I just cut it a little bit shorter than the loops. And then for the one we just did, I'm just going to stick it in his neck, about where we finished, and out somewhere fairly random in his body. And then same deal, just cut it slightly shorter than the loops. And there's our little sheep. If you're feeling extra ambitious, you could always do some surface loops around his head, give him some little bangs or hair. But there he is. And you can tell once he's got his loops, his belly does end up a little bit longer, or at least it looks that way, to me anyway. But he's super cute, nice and fluffy. For reference, if you were curious, for me, let me pull him up here. For me to make this sheep start to finish hyper focused on just making the sheep, it takes 80 minutes, so hour 20. But I have also made a lot of them. But there you go. I hope you enjoy. As a fun little aside, you can't really see his body color through the loops unless you like dig for it. So you could always make his body a wild color, just as a little Easter egg surprise. I will say he looks less menacing with his white eyes now that he's got his white fuzz too. But there you are. One very fluffy, very cute sheep. I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, if feel like I'm going too fast, you can always change the speed on the video. I think it's about right here. But otherwise, mudsyarn.com for all your fun stuff. You can find me on Ribbler for paid and free patterns. Otherwise, tag me on Instagram at mudsyarn if you make stuff. I'd love to see it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!